Welcome back to the Online Meeting Survival Guide Udemy course. We are now talking about online video communication etiquette. These simple tips will help you be a much better host, also a meeting participant, and enhance your collaboration capabilities. Let's get into it. So video communications etiquette is actually pretty straightforward, but there's actually been some great research on this that we're going to share today that can really push your meetings forward. Video communications are really realistic for remote teams. And it's true that you can get the most out of online communications with some simple strategies. My favorite is called equity of voice, and we're going to talk about that one in just a moment. But this whole process is going to help you get the most out of your online communication efforts. Let's start by sharing personal stories. If you have the ability to share personal stories, you also have the ability to foster a relationship building process, which is really foundational to team communication. Just a few minutes at the beginning of each meeting can be used to productively help team members build relationships and share their voice and be heard. So just share a few things. In addition, you can weave in some personal stories, some anecdotes into key points in the meeting that were helpful. You can even have the host or others kind of share what they've been working on, maybe in other projects, or what they remembered, what they thought was most important in your last meeting. So all of this is really important. And it comes back to an important thing called equity of voice. And equity of voice is achieving equity of voice requires a conscious effort to give each meeting member an equal opportunity to speak during the meeting. For example, if you have a 5-person meeting, each member of the team would speak 1/5 of the time and listen for 4/5 of the time. The listening side of equity voice is what makes it so powerful. So you can see here there's 1 person talking and 4 people listening. Now, are 2 of those people not listening? Who knows? But this would be perfect equity of voice here. There's so much that you can get done, but what people forget about is all of that listening that's happening. And so it's really respectful to give everyone their chance at speaking. Now, one of the core things that people forget about is assuming positive intent. Yes, it's true. Some people might not have the best intentions in every meeting. But if we assume positive intent, we ensure productive meetings by learning how to assume that for others have positive influence. This assumption helps set the meeting up for success by focusing on what you truly have control over, yourself. You don't have control over anyone else. We're going to talk about influence and social influence in an upcoming chapter, but you should try to come to these meetings as a positive influence, assuming everyone has positive intent unless they actually do not have positive intent, and they've proven that. Assume that they do. Anything worthwhile takes time, so persistence is incredibly important. Once managers identify collaboration projects with significant value to the organization, it's important to keep a close eye on progress and make sure everyone's following through. Collaboration projects can span weeks, months, even years. And so persistence is going to be key. If your team members lack persistence, you may need to consult a manager about that. Now, equilibrium of voice is a term that I came up with for this book because not every meeting requires equity of voice. Equilibrium is a term when all things come to their natural flow. So equilibrium of voice is a communication strategy that attempts to maximize meeting performance based on goals set in a meeting agenda. So a meeting with perfect equilibrium of voice would optimize the most relevant speakers of a group based on the established agenda and the participants' roles in the overall group. So this would say that, hey, we've got 1 expert on A, we've got another expert on B, but our 3 to 4 to 5 other people in this meeting, they don't need to spend as much time on this specific agenda. They're more going to focus on Q&A. So it just shows that there's an equilibrium that can be found, but it really does require an agenda and established roles so everyone knows who should be speaking and who should be listening. Now, creating a meeting agenda is going to be so important. Meeting hosts can increase productivity by structuring an agenda that helps all parties understand the roles of team members who have been invited to the meeting. A good meeting host aims to achieve equilibrium of voice between all meeting participants so that everyone can gain the most value out of the meeting. So here's some examples of when equity of voice and equilibrium of voice works better. So for collaboration type meetings, where you're just kind of brainstorming a new project or bringing an employee on board or having some educational roundtables, it's important to give each person an equal amount of time speaking. But for more presentation style meetings where you're bringing in experts with specific knowledge that needs to be delivered to larger audiences, equilibrium of voice is more important, like an expert webinar. Maybe even weekly team update meetings where specific roles in the agenda have been set to fill the team in. So at the core of both of these strategies, engaged learning is key to workforce development. I hope that those strategies can really help you visualize and conceptualize the importance of listening and the role that it plays in productive online meetings. I'm excited to get into our next tutorial video, so let's get started.